please sit back, relax. Here is space for us to engage. And I want you to not feel shy, and please put up their hands if you have any questions at any given time. Okay, like just interrupt us. We'd appreciate that. Quick question is that since it's a black background, should I turn off the light? Because it might be a bit light for you guys. Is that much better? Much better. Okay. Sorry. Okay. So some of our aims for today is to remind and inform you about the NQF levels. So if you have pens and papers, you might want to take quite a bit of notes today. We can make our slides available. I think we're not gonna hold any of the information hostage. We're willing to share it with you. And then our second is to facilitate a discussion around other degree options and fields. So yes, we're going to speak about psychology, but often we know that you're going to need multiple streams of income. And so we're going to definitely look at what are some of the other options that you might have that you could use your psychology degree in. Then we're going to provide information on the conventional study options, which you might be familiar with, but might have questions about and some interests. And then we're going to encourage and inspire students to begin researching in their fields of interest or any areas that you might find fascinating at all. Okay. Am I doing NQF or you doing it? Okay. So just to remind you all again, it's important. Now, NQX stands for the National Qualifications Framework. Okay. And this is important for you to know because when you get a qualification or a degree, you need to know what does this degree mean for me and what skills have I developed. And if you apply for jobs or a further degree that you are an educator, does that make sense? So if we look at the National Qualifications Framework, we'll start rather here at higher education. NQF level 5 is like a certificate level. That's equivalent to often a first year of a bachelor's degree. Okay. NQF 6 is a 2-year, it's often a diploma. Okay. Then NQF 7, which is everyone in this space has an NQF 7. Okay. Which means that you either have a degree or an advanced diploma or even a postgraduate certificate. So if, for example, you do a PGCE, okay, that will remain on an NQF 7. Did you know that? No. Maybe you thought it's post. Okay, so then be mindful of the NQF for which qualification that you are applying for. It's very important that you know that. Because sometimes you could be moving kind of, side by side as opposed to moving up. And it's important that you know that. So then NQF level 8, which everyone in this space is currently engaged in, that's your honors work or some postgraduate diplomas. Some. For example, a social work degree is built in with an honors. So if you're doing a postgraduate in that discipline, then it might qualify as an NQF 8. So it's important that you always ask if you're applying for a postgraduate in anything, diploma, which NQF level is the specific qualification on. Okay, you need to be mindful of that. Right. Then NQF 9 is your master's degree and NQF 10 is your doctor's degree. And that is the cap and that is it. Okay, so it's important for you to be educated around what national qualifications framework degree or diploma that you engage. So you will all, in the next couple of months, I said whoa, not maybe, have completed NQF level 8. Whether you're doing the B-Psych or whether you're doing the honors, it is the same NQF regardless of HPCSA or not. So all of you can move into a master's degree post your honors degree. Okay.
Okay. Then I know a lot of you say that you wanting to maybe go back and maybe do some extra research or maybe also determining what career options are out there for you. I'm just trying to gauge in terms of what have you been thinking about. So I know some of you are in the B-Psych program and ready to become registered counselors. Are you maybe wanting to go into masters? Are you wanting to first explore career options, either with the B-side equivalent or with the academic honors? Just trying to gauge in terms of what some of you been thinking. Anyone?
So I'd say first I'd want to gain some working experience and I'm time or willing. Yeah. And then I'm also thinking about applying for my master's. I'm quite torn between clinical and counseling psych. So I think after first gaining the few years of experience during after I gain my B psych, I will then maybe have my mind. Yeah. Yeah. Correct. So it's not bad.
And you is I think also wanting to go into the field and get some experience and get some practical understanding of what the needs are out there. I feel like I had such a good theory knowledge and basis and that has been supplemented by volunteer work and getting out there. So really being in field, what does that have to be reflecting, what are the needs say and what niches and what is finding the ability and how can I further equip myself in order to fill those needs gaps. And so I kind of I'm sitting in a bit of an uncertain position where I'm going to see what can I do. I know to my interesting things are, and that's helpful to guide, but also do you open to meeting needs that do exist.
Yeah. And I think that's quite important because if you think about psychology, right? The undergrad program and even the academic honors program, there's no practical element, for example, with nursing or social work or even teaching, right? Where that practical is provided. You only get that practical experience with the B-Psych equivalent or in a master's program. And by then it might even be too late to determine, is this actually what I want to do? Because often to gain practical experience, you need to go out by yourself and volunteer or find some form of practical experience. So I think maybe everyone is kind of in that space now in terms of practically, will I be able to do this? How am I going to do it? What is available for me out there? Which is kind of what this workshop is also going to explore today in terms of the practical side. Okay. So we're going to be looking at some psychology related careers and tying that in with master's programs as well. Okay, let's go next. So first let's look at clinical psychology. So people looking at clinical, right? And I think that's the one category that everyone is familiar with. I think in psychology, everyone knows what a clinical psychologist is. Most of us have wanted to become a clinical or have wanted to become one at some point in time because it is the most well-known category out of the psychology categories, right? So in terms of clinical, it looks at that severe pathology. So if you are wanting to work with severe cases in terms of schizophrenia, bipolar, then this would be then the category to go into. Okay. And if we think about a clinical psychologist, you'd often find them in psychiatric facilities. So, for example, Falkenberg Hospital, Lentegé Hospital, so those government facilities. There's also quite a lot of private spaces as well that hires clinical psychologists. And then you'd also often find them in private practice. So, for example, they would open up their own private space and then offer psychology related services. But often you'd also find them in schools or government facilities or private organizations. So, career opportunities for clinical psychologists is quite broad within our context. And especially because it is the most well-known category, career opportunities are more available for this particular category. Okay. They're looking at counseling psychology. So this is looking at more everyday type of life challenges. You might be thinking, what is the difference between a counseling psychologist and a registered counselor? Okay. So if you think about a counseling psychologist, they would also deal with not major pathology, but they would be dealing with depression and anxiety related cases. So they're also not able to diagnose in terms of severe pathology. The counseling psychologists won't be able to diagnose in terms of schizophrenia and bipolar and those major severe pathology related cases, but they're able to see through clients with major depressive disorder and anxiety related disorders. Okay. And they also deal with everyday life problems. So providing bereavement therapy, family therapy, and assisting where they can. And often you'd find counseling psychologists quite often in private practice, but also in government and organizational related spaces. I know in terms of counseling psychologists, it does often when government and organization facilities are advertising vacancies, it goes hand in hand. They will say clinical / counseling psychologists. They're looking for someone. So that would kind of be in that space. Then educational. Um, so if you are wanting to work with children, adolescents, teenagers, but also educational psychologists do also work with adults as well. But often the category is children to teenage years. And this would be helping those children or young people that are experiencing any form of difficulties in terms of learning barriers, behavioral, social challenges, and to ensure that they are then provided with that support. So often educational psychologists you would find in the education sector, in government sector, because that is where a lot of the vacancies are at the moment, or any school sector in terms of helping with those learning and behavioral challenges that's occurring. And an educational psychologist is able to assist learners, for example, with autism spectrum disorder, ADHD, oppositional defiant disorder. So they are able to then work with those type of cases. You also often find educational psychologists in private practice as well. So we can kind of see for all of these, all three categories, private practice is a big space to be finding employment, but also in terms of government and organizational facilities. Also, in terms of private practice as well. I mean, so not private practice, private schools, educational psychologists are also be found. Okay. Then industrial. So if you are wanting to work in more of an organizational setting, so maybe for big companies such as Mutual, that is where you would then find yourselves. And this would be specifically helping the employees of that particular organization. Okay, so in a way providing employee wellness programs and counseling to those type of settings. So this is where you would find yourself working in big corporate related companies. Research psychologist, Jamusena would be please catch it. Yes, I would say Jabulani just said I must give him a shout out. To say if you guys want to be like him, then this would be for you. So this involves those that enjoy stats and research, this would be the category for you. And so anyone that would like to go in the field of trying to find out, what is needed for this particular, let's say, age group in terms of let's study this particular age group, or you might find a gap within research, especially within our context in Africa. You would find lots of gaps within research. And I mean, there's so many different research opportunities out there, specifically for our context, that I think there's a big market for research psychologists. And often you'd find them working in university settings. So for example, space like this, there's also quite a few research-related organizations such as NRF, the HSRC. So there's quite a lot of research organizations as well that often look for research psychologists. Then neuropsychology. So if we're looking at neuro, this is looking at neurological conditions. So they are working with people that might have experienced seizures, maybe have epilepsy, forms of strokes, any neurological condition. So if that is something of interest to you, this would also definitely be the field to go into, where they are then diagnosing and assessing and intervening with those form of psychological disorders that's linked to the particular neurological condition. So for example, maybe someone experiences stroke and they may be only mobile in terms of the right hand side, and we can just imagine the mental health effect that would then have in terms of mobility, trying to figure out things, goals are different. And then the neuro psychologist would then assist in terms of providing interventions and helping them where they can. So often neuropsychologists also often private practice, but also in hospital and clinic settings as well. Okay. Then forensic psychology. So this is the one category out of all of them that I've mentioned and will still mention that is not an actual category within the HPCSA. So the Health Professions Council doesn't recognize forensic psychology as a category within our context within South Africa, right? But you are able to go so we'll speak about it a bit later, but you'll be able to go the clinical psychology route and then do some form of course in forensic related aspect in order to be a forensic psychologist, just bearing in mind that that won't specifically be recognized in our context, but it is recognized, for example, if you go overseas, you'd be able to then call yourself a forensic psychologist. Okay. And this the forensic psychology is working with like criminal investigations. So whether you're wanting to work with, for example, murderers or whatever the case may be, that would kind of be the aspect that you'd go into. Then registered counseling. A lot of you in this room are currently doing your B-Psych equivalent to become a registered counselor. So this involves providing short-term related counseling. Okay, so we're dealing also with everyday life problems. So, for example, grief, bereavement, family difficulties, maybe general stress, or maybe trying to build that level of resilience and coping strategies. So the only difference with a registered counselor, a registered counselor is not able to diagnose at any point in time. I often refer to registered counselors as, the GP, the general practitioner, the doctor. You would normally go to them first, and then maybe the GP will then recommend you or refer you to a specialist, maybe oncologist, or whatever the case may be. So I refer, myself as a registered counselor as that first point of intervention, right? Where you'd first go see a registered counselor, and then if the referral is needed, in providing that referral. Registered counselors also provide psychometric testing in terms of career guidance and school readiness assessments as well. Okay, then psychometrists. Psychometrists is specifically looking at those psychological assessments, so they specifically focus on psychometric testing. Also in terms of career assessments, any form of often a lot of organizations hire psychometrists when involved in the hiring process of candidates. So they will maybe do like IQ tests, personality testing. So that is often what's found in big organizations. For psychometrists, so they often work in private practice and organizational and school settings as well. Okay. So university. Great. So then looking at, okay, so then in terms of what we offer at Cornerstone, okay, so a lot of you are currently doing the academic honors, which is the 1-year program, which will allow you to be admitted to masters. In the B-side program, for those of you that are maybe doing the academic honors, that's maybe not familiar in terms of the B-side. So the B-side involves a 1-year theory course and then a 6-month practical course. And with the B-Psych equivalent, this will allow you to be registered as a HPCSA registered counselor. Okay, so unfortunately, with only the academic honors, you won't be able to be registered with the HPCSA. Okay, so maybe those of you that are currently doing your academic honors and you're thinking, okay, maybe the registered counseling route is for you, you are able to then apply to do the B-Psych equivalent, which will allow you to become a registered counselor. Okay. Then there's also the community development program. Again, it doesn't lead into an HPCSA registered counsel position. But if you are interested in doing community work and that is sort of your aim and you maybe not wanting to be registered with the HPCSA, that could be the route you could go. And then PTCEs both ways. So often PTCEs does offer a lot of career opportunities in terms of people wanting to make work in a school environment. Because a lot of the times now as well, when schools are hiring RCs, they do require maybe some form of teaching qualification to assist maybe with life orientation, for example. So often maybe schools would require a PGCE just to ensure that you are able to do other duties within the school and not only being a registered counselor. But any questions here in terms of what Alex is saying? Or questions?
What are some of the benefits of the HPCSA?
The benefits. Okay. So firstly, in terms of protection, so protecting yourself, because it is part of a board, right?
Yep.
So at the end of the day, you want to, if you are seeing clients, whether it be in your workspace or private practice space, you want to be able to tell your clients that you have gone through formal training. You went through accredited training as well, because the HPCSA accredits all the programs. And you have your formal training, you gained experience, and all those type of things. So at the end of the day, it's to back yourselves in terms of, okay, I did this, and that. To say, okay, I'm actually registered. So big one is to just say that, okay, I've done all the steps that I needed to, and also to give your clients peace of mind as well. I mean, you can imagine if you're going to someone that maybe doesn't have any formal training, how would you feel about that? Yeah, maybe Natalie.
No, you're absolutely right. I don't want to say medical aid because it's very small percentage of the. So previously, I think you would say you want HPCSA because medical aid will pay, but it's almost non-existent these days. It's very small percentage of people use that. So I want to say that, but exactly what Kayla said. Yeah. And I guess also for international, if you want to then maybe go international, that they would at least say that you've been recognized in your own country as well. Yeah. We have a hand there and then a hand there.
Just want to ask about the board exam process. Is that something that we independently coordinate and go about setting up, or does Cornerstone help us to do that after that practicum? Or is it like Heisman's done year or done here?
So
Does that?
yeah, in terms of the documentation, of course, or any other institution, for example, will help you with the process in terms of applying for it. But in terms of the actual study, that is independent. In terms of, there are a lot of workshops provided by, for example, CISA and the other independent practitioners offer workshops in order to prep you for it. I know Cornerstone that also offer a wide workshop to prep you for it, but I mean, a lot of the studying is independent. And the same in terms of if you're doing any other form of master's program for the board exam as well. So remember all those categories that I mentioned, there's a board exam for every one of them at the end of it, once you're done with your theory and internship and things like that. Which the institution will help you and assist you navigating that process of registering and applying. But the actual studying is in the day. So there's normally 2 intakes. It's normally, or 3 intakes.
It's 3 periods.
3. So it's February, June, July, and up to October. Normally with the board exams are written.
And if it's in Cape Town, most of it's in it's a Protea Hotel in town. It's a hotel on the N2. I don't know what it would be, all those see. So I think all the years it's just going like that, the hotel.
And do you have birthday to say like the B-sides for this year? Rats in October, rats in June, July?
So yeah, so specifically for the B-sides at Cornerstone, you would write in October because you're only finishing your practicum June, July. So you'd have already missed the June, July one. So you would only be able to write in October.
Yeah. Another question at the back?
Cool question. Cool. The transition between the academic on say what to start academic on and then cosplay to the trip. Does that entail that you still do the full 1 year, 6 months, or is it somehow merged? For example, that it can project privates, and I know that allows them at 3 years out. You just restart. Yeah.
So I actually did my academic honors and I did my B-Psych at Cornerstone. So what happened was I got a lot of credits. You can get up to 50% of your credits carried over. So then you only end up doing about 3-4 modules maybe. So you wouldn't do the full battery of modules. You'd only maybe do halves. So you are able to get your credits, but there are also some compulsory modules. For example, psychological interventions is compulsory because that's not offered on academic level. You'd also do psychometric assessments. because that's also compulsory because you learn a lot of new things. So there are some compulsory modules, but you're able to get credits for quite a few.
Another question, as e-registered counselor to this program, are you able to, as you asked about your practice, are you able to register the e-check for us all?
That's important in terms for medical aid books.
So you write in October, then you pass. And 3 weeks, 4 weeks later, they let you down there very quick. By the first or second week in November, you will know whether you passed or failed. And you'll get your practice number immediately, but within a week. And then your PHF happens within quick 12 days as well. The institute grant is all quick. So by the following year, you can start the practice.
Yeah. So it doesn't take long for PhD.
That's very quick. PHF turnaround is so quick, huh?
Yes. Types of boys on this set. For instance, let's just say popping goes on. Are there is there a limit to how many times you get?
Not a limit, but you can be right.
Yeah, as a shame, but I think it's 3.
3 might be, but you can be right.
Yeah. But don't worry, you guys will pass it.
Okay, I'm just going to go on quickly and then we'll take some more questions in the departments. Okay. So some of the other universities, I think it's important if we need to look at nationally what's going on in our country. Western Cape, there's Cornerstone, SACAP, UCT, UWC, and Stellenbosch University, which offers honors degrees, accredited institutions. And then UJ, Witwatersrand, Northwest, Nelson, Elisa, University of Free State, University of Pretoria, some of the ones that offer honors programs. Although the BSAC is located mainly at SACAP and Cornerstone, I think UJ might have stopped there as the CLE.
I know UK's in office is the postgraduate diploma. They
already changed it.
Yes.
So, BSAC is coming to an end this year, and it's shifting to the postgraduate diploma. It's just a name change. And so they're already on that one. Ours is in the process, so we also have a name change of course in the next year. We on it, so that's fine. And then just in terms of some masters that we have in South Africa, because it's important that you kind of know what it looks like. There's clinical and counseling, educational, industrial, and organizational is used interchangeably depending on which university you're looking at. You go to UCT, they refer to it as organizational, but if you go to UWC, it's industrial. Okay, research masters. So research masters is an important one just to pause at because you get a research, we discuss it later now. A research master's by thesis only. Okay, so it means you can apply to university after your honors degree to do a master's degree, but you need to just find a supervisor that will kind of supervise your project that's in an area of interest. Okay, takes you usually 1 year or 2 years to complete, and it doesn't lead to any registration, but it opens up a lot of doors for you. Okay, because then you can lecture, you can do your PhD. There's a lot that you can do with that research master's. So it's important to look at that. And then neuropsychology, and then like Kayla was saying, you have to do clinical and then specialize in forensic. I'm going to get to other masters in a bit. Okay, but you're just going to show you this.
So yeah, I think, I'm not sure if all of you are familiar, but please have a look at Cognition and Co. It is quite Please, if you are wanting to apply for any master's related programs, they provide you with all the information that we need to know in terms of when the application dates, which universities offers, when is, the opening, closing dates and things like that. So I just like this picture because it kind of demonstrates the pathway for psychology, right? So everyone has done the 3 years in undergrad or 4 years, and then we're all kind of at this stage now in terms of doing your honors degree or maybe your BPsych equivalent, right? So this just shows you. So for example, those that are doing the honors degree, you can either go into a BPsych equivalent, or you could go straight into a master's program. That's up to you. Where the same with the BPsych equivalent students, you can go straight into a master's program, right? So if we think about clinical, so the clinical psychology programs are often 3 years, 3 to 4 years, right? So the theory years can be 1 to 2 years, with a 1 year internship and 1 year community service. Okay, so bearing in mind the clinical psych can be 3 to 4 years, depending on the institution that you go to. And the remaining, so in terms of counseling, research, industrial, and educational, is often 2 years, 2 to 3 years. So again, theory can be 1 to 2 years, and they have 1 year internship. So those categories don't have any community service here. Okay, and then as Natalie mentioned, now you can do a master's degree by dissertation, and that can be a year or two, but that doesn't lead to HPCSA registration, but it leads to other career opportunities. What I wanted to say about so I don't think neuropsych is here, but in terms of if you wanting to go into neuropsych, you need to have a neuropsychology module in your honors to go into neuropsychology masters, right? The same with industrial. You need to have an honors in industrial psychology to be able to go to industrial. So you'd first need to do you have to major in your undergrad for industrial, do an honors in industrial, and then become industrial psychologists for masters. Yeah, so that's basically the only require.
There's one more, educational psychologist. Oh yes, if you want to become an educational psychologist, you need to do a BA honors and you need to do a PGC. Okay, so you need 2 qualifications to set you up. But then again, it's not that difficult to get into educational psych at masters. It's not as competitive like it is to get into a clinical. So it's a nice route as well. I mean, it's going to take you another, how long is a PGCE? 2 years if you do it part time?
Yeah, it is 1 year.
1 year. So you can do a PGCE in 1 year to do it full time. So it's 1 year for honors and 1 year for PGCE, and you can almost get into a master's. So it is actually a very viable route to look at in terms of your own timeline, as well as like just cost and everything, as opposed to struggling to get into a clinical program. It's a viable.
And I think if we are thinking it's true, if we're thinking about the master's route, I'm not sure if any of you know, like most institutions only take about 6 to 8 students, and there's normally about for 1 year for 600 applications. The same with Cornerstone in the B side. We only take 280. And the same with SACAP as well. They also only take about 280 students. So bearing in mind that if you are wanting to go the master's route, it's best to apply to as many institutions as possible. Yeah.
Okay, so then just some of the general requirements. Yeah, so don't leave your applications to the last minute. Okay, applications open up in April already for those of you. Well, it's open. Sorry, applications are open already. Yeah, applications are open already. I was gonna say if you are applying for your master's, so for all the honors students, you wanna actually get onto it now already. It's usually an application fee. There's forms. You need plus minus 3 referees. Even for those who want to do B-side, it's a kind of similar process. Sometimes you might require a research proposal, which is about 4 to 5 pages. So your proposal that you're writing now for your thesis, kind of you can use that proposal for your applications. You're going to need a motivational letter, a CV, transcripts. You need certified copies of everything of your actual degree. So you can see just before an application, it takes a lot of work. It can take you a good month to wrap your head around everything that you actually require in hard copy as well as electronic copies. Your ID, everything needs to be certified. Yes.
as well as new students.
Police clearance as well, because it's HPC. So it's a lot of documents that you need to gather.
It takes time as well.
Takes time as well. And I remember with HPC, we needed something with a seal at some point. We had to go to a lawyer, which costed.
But yeah.
But at some point in my journey, I needed something at the lawyer that needed to be sealed with some.
Correct. That's right.
There was something as well. I was like, oh my gosh, we must go find a lawyer now. And so there's lots of stuff to prepare for. So just apply. It's not the application and off you go. Just be mindful for any program. Okay. Some of the closing dates for honors. Cornerstone's B-side closes now in May or June. We close for B-side. We will know by end of So for all of the honors who wants to apply for B-side, it opens up 9 April, I think, March, and it closes in May or June. And then, yeah, August, September, October are some of the closing dates. And then clinical, some of the closing dates are in May already. So you need to actually start getting onto this information, onto the stuff now already. And don't wait for it.
And I think what's important before the references, please ask your references in advance.
Yeah.
Right. Remember, they're also busy, they're working, they maybe have private practice, they have different gigs going on. So asking even in the week of the closing day, is most likely they're not going to respond to you. So ensure that you're at least asking a month in advance, 2 months in advance. Ask now already if the application closes in May. And especially if you're asking them for multiple institutions, they also need time. So I think maybe we can speak about some career.
Yes. So there's a few things I wanna share. Maybe we can put on the last at this point.
Yeah.
Because it's getting late. So like I'm very passionate about psychology, but I'm also passionate about the skills that we gain and how we need to expand that. Okay. So there are things called graduate recruitment programs. Okay. And these are designed for people, for graduates who have just finished their degree and they want to enter into a workspace for a little bit, maybe a year, 12 months. We say, where can I work after? So you often don't get a full salary, you get a stipend, but it's an opportunity for you to gain experience. So graduate recruitment programs you can compute that into Google and specifically look in the Western Cape. Some of the places is like Greenpeace, Alan Gray. Sure, there's a lot of places that the government.
Yeah.
They WC, they close in August. I think the applications close. So whether you've got a bachelor's degree or whether you've got an honors degree, you can apply for graduate recruitment programs. Okay, we don't need any registration. You just need a bachelor's or an honors degree. So please be mindful of that. Okay. The second thing I want to explore is we can do career options in a bit. There's other degrees, other masters, other fields. When you reach postgrad, okay, we need to work interdisciplinary. So you need to stop just looking in psychology. Okay, these health sciences. Okay, health sciences has postgraduate diploma in addictions, postgraduate diploma in adolescent health and counseling. I know at UCT they offer that. There's a master's in public mental health. That's massive. Every time I go to MRC, most of the colleagues and the Cochrane Center, most of the colleagues there have got a master's in public mental health, which is what they need, more than just individual counseling. There's a master's in program evaluation and monitoring, which sits in the business masters, and you can apply for those with an honors degree. Okay, just because you've got an honors in psychology doesn't limit you to apply for masters in a different faculty. You understand? Because sometimes the students who think, oh, I've got psychology, I can only look at psychology. No. Nick in our department, he's got a master's in M&E, monetary evaluation in a business department, for example. So you need to expand your thinking. You can't just look at just psychology. You need to look at what is it that I want to do. There's policy writing degrees. There's so many things that you can do at a master's level that's outside of psych. Does that make sense?
UWC also recently added I think it's a population studies
Yes,
course as well.
at a master's level. There's a master's that I want to do called the Masters in Infant Mental Health at Stellenbosch University. Oh, I want to do. There's so many nice masters. There's a master's in Child and Family Studies at UWC. They have a Child and Family Studies unit. Okay. And you can do a master's in Child and Family Studies if you're keen on working with families and children. So just because you want to work with children doesn't mean you now need to become a counselor or educational psychologist. There are mammoth. There's a lot of different avenues that you can take. You understand? So don't just, and sometimes it's because you don't know about it. I think one thing for me that I also learned on the other side was that there are research units that become available, which you only actually kind of hear about in postgrad. So like there's the Child and Family Study Research Unit. There's a Child and Adolescent Research Unit at UCT. There's the Perinatal Mental Health Research Unit. So there are a lot of units that's not necessarily in a department at a university, but that you can do your master's degree through, and it's linked to a university. So there's a lot of research to be done. You understand? You need to say, I want to work with, and start researching the variety of things that is available. Do you want to say anything at this point? Another thing, and I often want students to do is also to think internationally and nationally. Have you ever thought of a master's in Africa? I said that in my class the other day. But why are you not applying for clinical masters in Kenya? Like, who says their process is as challenging as ours? But maybe there's other, and you can always come back and do the board exam and rewrite certain things. But I mean, there's such a broad opportunity for you to study in different continents, in different places. Don't limit yourself to just South Africa. I wish I was not married and didn't have kids and could start this whole fascinating journey of like, oh, where am I going to go and what can I do? Yeah, questions. Yes.
I think for me, I get so excited about all of this. In the same way, like, you get so overwhelmed because it's so much to do and so much hard work to do. I mean, being cognizant of time, of limits, of capacity. So, what is maybe like any advice you have for like first step? And although that can be very individual as well because you all get things in lives and capacities and then like the other side that comes along with a few things. But when you mainly say like just the body will focus and your interest and then work.
I think that's the best option, finding what you passionate about and who you want to work with and what type of projects you want to do work on, and then kind of determine from that the top or which master you want to go into. Do you need to do a master to be able to do that? For example, if your passion is community work, you're able to do that as you don't need any other full qualification. You can if you want to. But I mean, you're able to do that at the RC. So I think it is best to first ask yourself, consider yourself and say, what is it that I actually want to do? Who do I want to work with? And then kind of from there do research in terms of what is required. I'm not sure that maybe else.
Yeah, just find a mentor. Like, I know I got a mentor and I couldn't without her. But a mentor helps. Someone that knows the landscape, someone that's also journeyed or similar path, that can assist you. Sometimes it's good just to bounce ideas off someone. So having a mentor in the space is very important as you navigate academia career choices. It's very, very important. Yeah.
What's that person?
I don't know. You kind of meet people along your journey, someone that you've connected with. Yeah.
There's no for.
Network. Yeah.
So just
Yeah, I don't think anyone really advertises mentoring. So it's more on
The personal.
stuff that you really connect with and feel like this is someone that you want to be elected. They're just asking that if they really were elected.
I think as well, like in my experience, nothing stopped you from putting a hand up to assist someone who's maybe doing the master, really doctorate and helping them. Like for instance, I was a facilitator as part of someone's research that they did. But that also opens up all the connection within the university that they bring into you. You meet different people from different avenues. So, you just got to put your hand out there and hope for the best, put your best foot forward.
And I think even in terms of careers, Natalie was mentioning it early on, but in psychology, I'm not sure if you know it, but most of us have multiple streams of income. We don't only do this or that, right? And we kind of have to be creative in that sense, right? So if you are going to be an RC, yes, private practice is a good space, or a school is a good space, or anything like that. But often it might, you might need to add something else, a simple thing such as what Natalie and I are doing, career workshops, right? It's not outside of our scope. We're able to provide it. if you see a need, for example, in your community, right? Providing that need, whether it be a support group that's needed or a psychoeducational workshop maybe for whoever. It's really about thinking outside of the box and taking whatever opportunities presented in front of you in terms of career opportunities.
Hand up, V.
Just for the master's program, obviously, you have to have good marks, but is there any other things that the university specifically look for that you could?
Yeah, so they definitely look at a form of volunteering, communities, work-related experience. That's a big one. They definitely looking at you as an individual. Are you able to articulate who you are? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? If you're mentioning weaknesses, how are you currently working on it? So they're not just looking at your marks. It's with that application form. There's obviously there's lots of different sections where you need to complete. So in terms of, so for example, the open context, how would you maybe approach the problem within that? Describing the strengths and weaknesses. Looking at what experience do you have and what have you learned from that. So they ask a list of questions that you need to be able to apply yourself. And they also take your references into consideration. You're at Cornerstone, we definitely do. So making sure you actually getting people that know you and that can provide substantial amount of information, not only providing one sentence or one word. So that's also important. Because most universities have a sort of scaling, a weighting thing that they do. So maybe the application is 30%, your references is 30%, marks is 10, and you get an overall percentage at the end of the day. And that's how you would possibly get moved on to the next stage. That's kind of how the process works. So
How we do it at BSAT level.
yeah, we do it here as well.
Just another thing, I had so many thoughts. Oh, please start getting involved in the psychology network. Like I said this before, get registered with SciSit, it's 170 Rand, SADC, guys. I saw SADC at SciSit last year and I was like, people in Joburg and everybody's like, oh, you're so lucky they Cape Town. And yet they're on our campus. Like, so get onto the course, start volunteering, get stuck in. You need to do that sort of work to build your portfolio up, so that you stand a bit, even just for employment, not just for masters. If I'm an employee and you coming to apply for a job, I want to know, oh, you've done all of these things and you got the degree. Like the degree these days is like a given. Okay, but if you've done all that, not only for master's application, but for job applications, it's good. It's going to help you.
Skill. And what is the process of becoming a lecturer in this stage USB as well?
Good answer. So, a minimum of a master's degree usually, because then you can always teach 1 year or one qualification in case level below. So if you have a master's degree, you can teach up to honors degree. And I guess you need to have a passion for the discipline. So a lecture usually comprises of 3 things. So yes, you need to be smart. You must have good grades in your degree. And then you need to have community engagement and a passion for research. So we all need to engage in research. We need to write journal articles. We need to be presenting at conferences. So we need to do, but it's lovely to teach. It's such a nice thing because it's another way of giving back to the next generation. So please come and lecture one day. So it's those 3 things. It's teaching and teaching, and then community engagement and research. Yeah. No questions on that table. They're all quiet.
You're taking all the information. Any other questions?
Oh, there's a form. You all heard about the form that got submitted on the 4th of Feb this year, which means you can just move between categories now as well. Okay, so we tried to move towards having not a general psychology game, but like if you are clinical, you can swap to become a counselor and an educational psychologist, and education can now move to counseling and clinical. Psychometrics can move to registered counselor can move to psychometrist. So within your NQF level, there's opportunity to shift around, and that's as new as this year.
So I would imagine that you have to do some sort of Because
Yeah, you just have to do some of the requirements and prove that you've done some of the work. But if you knew, like, if it's just fresh, I think you can just do the practicum maybe even.
I think they say you have to have 3 years. You see, be registered for 3 years, and then you do your political category, and then do the practical.
The practical. Like I said, the
should be hard 6 months.
Yes. So then you can have both. Yeah. So for psychometry, it's they just do 6 month practicum. They don't actually have a theory. Yeah, actual. They just do a 6 month.
So the honest students, you might want to do that. You could just do the 6 month practical. Yeah, to become psychometrist.
Yes. And that's only offered in Stellenbosch.
Yeah, only Stellenbosch offers that. So it's a nice way for you to do that quickly. You should really look at that.
Because I mean, you can go that route, and then after 3 years, you can change.
Just not reach the counselor, but out the effort. Exactly. Be wise. Yes, there was a question.
Do you have to work for a limited amount of time within an organization or any similar opening practice within the arts space?
Immediately.
Once you get your results, you can open one.
Absolutely. That afternoon, I passed most clients. And it's not just for registered counsel, that's for all the professions. It's not just
So maybe while you're waiting for your results, you can prep everything.
get your business cards, get your room ready.
And then
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's just interesting. You know, I was on Instagram, and one of our students, I supervised her 2 years ago. So not even a year, registered cards. I'm trying to pull up Instagram, but gosh, I can't listen. And Aurora, and she's running a whole with CPD accredited courses now. And I was like, this is I'm so encouraged by her. She, um, I was a research supervisor 2 years ago. And now she's saying to me, this is my ad. And then she's got all these courses that she developed, and it looks at something that's not like social justice and psychology or something not your norm. And she got CPD and ethics points. Did you see it? I was so impressed. And she gave her first session free, and then the next 4, the CD starts, I think, in March. And there we go. Now that's innovation. You're gonna make it if you invent it. So I was very proud to see that 2-3 days ago she sent me the blurb. So there's a lot of students doing a lot of things.
I have a question. So the other day after your community psych lecturer, that thinking quite a bit. Looking at my community where I'm from, and I'm quite interested in maybe starting with the NGO, NPO, something like that. So do you maybe have any tips or any recommendations? Because I'm thinking maybe I should start writing like business proposals now already so that I can get funding and stuff like that. But what would you guys recommend? Would you recommend that you first gain some experience as a registered counselor in another type of work seeking? Or yeah.
I don't know, my answer might be a bit, why are we recording every
Blah.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding. So I think that, I mean, I've been the NGO, NPO route, and it works. But I'm a big advocate, and I was sharing in my class earlier for the social enterprise PTY limited route business, meaning that you actually need to make money. I don't think that, sorry, like, I just feel like is a doctor going to go open an NPO? Now I'm asking, is any graduate that's a medical professional going to open an NPO? So my suggestion is that as good citizens in psychology, we like to start NPS, but I suggest you open up a PTY limited business in mental health services. That's exactly what we did in RQ. And I can help you through some of those, but we can talk about that because I've done it.
Yeah, thank you.
There's lots of avenues that you can do, but then you can make money to then provide back to the community. And there's still a lot that you can do with funding and stuff. So, sure.
Is it would it be ideal or just make you from BC press but nice if you do attend not shorter course? I see that this one that I was considering doing, especially in April. There's a number of basic HIV counseling course at UCT last like on 10. Will that just does it count when you in the long run? And I'm sure these are could be honest, like everybody's a smash mentally, but in the long run, seeing the master thinking quite will still count or just a good enough to help.
Yeah, it does still count. But I think it's also asking yourself, like, what is the reason you're doing this course? Is it only to make it look good? Or actually are you going to be using it and utilizing it? So asking yourself that part, but it does enhance your application, seeing that, okay, there are extra courses that you've done. But if you're doing your application, you need to be able to speak to those courses and say, how you've been using it and why it's a benefit. So kind of elaborating on that aspect and not just saying, okay, I did this course. Okay, cool. Ticked off. And then, because they would kind of engage in terms of, okay, actually, are you using this course? Like, was it actually of good use?
And then just one more thing, the choices of courses that you choose to do, how does that integrate with your overall goal? So that Lifeline would be more advisable than an HIV course at PwC. You know what I'm saying? So there are certain core modules or short courses to be more beneficial than others. But it's always a good thing to upskill. Chat, we are at 1:00, so we're not going to keep you longer, but we will remain behind. So if you really need to leave, you can feel free to leave. But if you want to still engage, we are still here to chat some more.